Okay, adjusted the camera a little bit. Good afternoon, good morning, whatever time it is where you are. I'm getting ready to work on this block here, Ethereal Quilt. This is what I'm working on. I'm gonna move the camera around just a little bit so I can see any comments that might come in. Get set up here. My cords are in the way and my cat is bugging me. All right. So this is the block I'm working on. This is block number 2. This is 4 of block number, this is 4 put together. Block number 1 started out like this, and I have 4 of them done, and they're sewn together like this. Now let me explain this from the last time and the video previous to this one. I had problems with the stitching lining up where it was supposed to go, and I had that happen a couple of times, and I chose not to redo the block. So I've got some here that didn't sew right. I've got a bit more, maybe on the same block, but right here it shifted, and you can see up here there's some of the stems have shifted over to like here where the leaf doesn't line completely up with that. So I believe it was user error with that. I think that I did put this in my digitizer, and my intention was to put all of the quilting at the end, and I'll explain why. After I'm done piecing and embroidering everything, I turn my hoop over and I put my backing fabric on. I put my hoop back in the machine, and I do all of the quilting. When I'm done, I have the back quilted. So you can see the quilting. When I put them together, I have this seam that is showing. I have earlier videos where I've shown you how I cover this, but essentially what I'll do is I'll put the whole quilt together, and then I trim as I go. I'll trim this to 1/4 inch. I didn't trim this one to 1/4 inch. Sew it first together at 1/2 inch, trim it to 1/4 inch, and then I'll make my own binding to match this, or I might make it lots of different colors like I have, so it, when you turn it over, it's got some nice little pop to it. But what is important to me with the quilting is that when you turn the quilt over, you can actually see the quilting from what's on the top. With the traditional machine embroidery and quilting, you'll have the quilting done on the top. You'll sew it together with the seams showing like this. You'll cover it with a backing, and then you'll stitch in the ditch or do some meander quilting or something. And for me, I want to see the actual shape that is being sewn right there or quilted right there. So I have this block. This is the second block here. This is block number 2 of the block of the month. And I am behind a month because I didn't make any last month. So this is what the back looks like. And I did do the quilting. I added a bit of quilting here because I felt like there wasn't enough. So I put this into my machine, and I used a triple stitch and I stitched along the seam. Okay, so you can see that on the back right here. I felt like there was too much space between here and here, so I wanted to do that. You could come back here and maybe follow this scallop. Just do something real simple. I didn't do the scallop because I've already got this right here. I considered what I could do here, but I decided that everything that I actually tried to do on the other block, I had a sample block, didn't work out. So I decided just to do the triple stitch on the machine, the straight stitch, and quilt it like that. All right. So I'm part of the way through this block, and what I'll do is I'll do the embroidery, and then I'll show you how I finish it with the quilting. Now, as I've gone along, I have skipped the quilting steps. So as you go along, you'll piece and embroider, and then when it comes up to a quilting step, you won't quilt. You'll just go on to the next step. I did find a flaw in the sewing sequence of this quilt block, and what happened was when I'm sewing this piece here, the machine sews this piece along with the yellow. So it does the yellow scallop, and it doesn't stop so that you can put your piece in. It'll sew the yellow scallop, it'll sew the outline placement, and then it'll sew the actual seam, and then it stops. And it never gives you a chance to fix that or to put your piece in there. What I did was I did put this in my digitizer, and I separated out the steps so that I have separate steps for that. But if you didn't, you would have to stop the machine when it was done with the scallop, or watch it as it stitches this outline placement. And then when you're done, you stop before it starts sewing the other part. Put your piece on and then sew it as normal. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Anyway, this right here is the booklet. I highly recommend printing it out. This is the diagram for the blocks of the month. I've already done the block of the month for the first one. Now I'm working on the second one, which you see we need 8. We need 4 of one side and then 4 of the other so that you make an arch. Okay? And I made note for myself as I was going through. Oops, that's not this one. There's the block I'm working on right now. I made a note for myself just so I could tell you about it right here. So at step 10, okay, and I know this is backwards for you. I don't know if I can change the camera. No. So that it's mirrored. I think it just turns it around. Okay. Well, anyway, this is backwards to you, but this is step 10. And what happens is it sews the entire step of these two. Okay? So step 10, instead of stopping, sews this one, and this one before it goes to that. Okay? So hopefully that helps. My machine keeps going to sleep because I'm talking too much. All right, so I have my block ready, the one that I have done already. This is the mirror, so it's going to go like this. And I'm getting ready to sew the, let's see, what am I getting ready to sew? I think I'm getting ready to sew the blue. It's just a little bit of a detail in the wing. And what I chose to do is the machine stops for each of these steps, but what I chose to do was to make it the same color, so there would be a couple, a bit fewer thread changes, because this has a lot of thread changes to it. So I'm just picking the colors as I go along. I do have a set of embroidery spools that I had from the first block that I set aside so that there would be a little bit of consistency with it, but it's not necessary. That's why it's called the Ethereal Quilt, because you can change it all over the place, however you like. Alright. Welcome. Thank you for joining. Hopefully I can see your comments. I want to see your comments. So here is where it stops here. And then the next step is to do this purple here. But I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to do this body here. So I don't have to change my thread, because that's the color I decided to make. Okay. Okay, I'm trying to see the live chat. I don't know how to see it, unfortunately. Okay. So now the body's done right here, and I did want to maybe pull this a little bit while it was sewing, but that's okay. It's not a big deal, because when I sew this together, this is just in the seam. All right. Same thing for the actual the head. Let's see, is that the head? Oh yeah, it is. Okay. So that's so the next step is this part here. Okay, I'm gonna do that. Let me get a stylus, because I don't want my finger to be in there. I do want to hold this back. So okay, now I'm going to go back a couple of steps so that I can do the purple that I missed and I didn't do while I was messing with blue. Okay, and that is going to be this purple here on the wing. All right. Thanks for hanging out. I hope you're having a good day. And at the moment, I cannot see the comments, and I don't know how to see the comments. And I don't want to mess around with the settings too much, so. Can't see them. Strange. Anyway, sometimes I can see the chat and sometimes I can't. So today I'm just going to not be able to see the chat. Alright, this is the color purple that I'm going to use, and these are Robinson Anton threads. They're mostly rayon. I didn't pre-wash my fabric. I like it when it shrinks up a bit. This is going to be a queen size quilt when it's done. And if I stay true to my block of the month, I would actually have this done by December, but I'm already a month behind from when I started it, so silly me. Okay, that's the antenna. And this is the wing. Okay, so now I've started the wing. has 25 minutes left on the actual sewing. And it's mostly all embroidery. It's actually all embroidery. So what I'm doing right now is all of this. I've already done the flowers down here, and now I'm doing the butterflies. This is actually the third time I've sewn this block. The first one I sewed had a grayer kind of color blue here, and I didn't really like that grayish blue. It didn't match the kind of tone of the rest of the quilt. Let me see if I can find it for you so I can show it to you. Let me show you what it looks like. I try to get fancy with this shiny, right? So this is what it was. And I don't know, I mean, when you look at it, this is so much grayer. It just looks much more gray than the rest of the colors. So I ditched it. I decided to start over, and I put this blue in. It was why I like it much better. I like it much better. Okay, so this is, just have to babysit. All right, so the next step would be this. I'm going to skip it. And then the next after that would be that. And I'm going to skip that. Oh, wait, no, I want to do, this is the body right here. And I'm going to just sew this the same purple. Even though on the other block I sewed it a different purple, it's fine. I would rather just put it in here as this purple. That way I don't have to change it as much. All right, see, this is a little bit more magenta. I swear nobody is gonna see that. It is just a little bit of a pink. Okay. Now the next step is the, let's see, looking at it, pink or purple-ish here. So it's gonna this. All right. And that's this color. Which you see that was the other side of the body, I guess. I changed it and I did that, but onward to the next color. Thanks for hanging out. I don't feel lonely if you're here. And if you have purchased this pattern, you can go along with me. I'm just doing, this. I have to do 4 of these. And I don't know if I'll go on live and do all of them, but I'll go live when I start the 3rd one. Oh, I need to thread it, actually. That would be ideal. How about we thread it? Okay, there we go. Now we're onward. Now we're making. Oh. Dropped my stylus. I don't need it at the moment. I just wanted to pull this over here. the cat. He woke up from his nap. All right. Next step is, oh jeez. Oh no, the cat woke up from his nap. All right. Next step. Okay. Orange. So it's going to be this bright orange. If it's not the right color, I'll change it, but on the machine, it's not coordinating colors. I didn't set the colors up on this one to coordinate, but you can go into the menu and the settings, and you can change your But you can change your settings in the when you do the resizing of the block or whatever. There's a way to change your color swatches so that they match what you're using. And I didn't do it with this yet, but I will. Okay, I gotta make sure that it's actually sewing the orange. Yes. All right. Sewing the orange. My cat wants to be on my lap. He woke up early from his nap. Oh, okay, there we go. Now I can see the chat. Okay, here's Mister. He wants to watch the embroidery. This is Mellow. He's a blonde tabby. No, he's just purring. He just wants to be on my lap. All right. Oh no, don't climb me. Nope, don't climb me. I think he wants the thread. Okay, next one, bright yellow. It's gonna do this right here. This is what I call babysitting. I have to, it's like start, stop, start, stop. If you had a multi needle machine, you would not be doing what I am doing. But this is a combo machine. It does straight stitch and it does the machine embroidery. So I gave that up to have this straight stitch machine. I think I could probably give you a better view, just a little bit of a better view. Now, if it doesn't move, if it stays put where it's supposed to, And I should, nope, it's not gonna, it's just sinking, just a little at a time. A little bit at a time, sinking. Don't sink. All right. Okay. Next. Next step is the body of the butterfly, and I chose to make it this bright fuchsia color. Feel free to drop in the comments how you're enjoying this. If you're enjoying this, if you're getting some educational quality out of it. I like sharing alive. Ugh. Okay. Not a blackout. It's all right. There. I want to be able to see. I want you to be able to see what's going on. But this is loose. And I gotta tighten it up. I can't seem to get it to stay where I want it to stay. Okay, is that staying? No. Should have left it where it was, I suppose. I just don't know why this isn't staying tight where it's supposed to. I don't know. Let me do this. I'll be back in a second. All right, I think I fixed it. Okay, there. Now I've got power. And this is on a rolling tray, so this is all sorts of fun today. Look, I'm gonna put it right here. And once again, I'm gonna tighten it and hopefully it doesn't move anymore. Okay, how's that? Can you see? Let me know. Is this a good view? Do we need to zoom in? I'll zoom in just a little. Okay. There. Oh! Okay, next. Let's see what color. I can't see what color it's going to do next. It'll be a surprise. Oh, it's the body. Okay. Thank you for the thumbs up. I appreciate it. So you have the quilt pattern. You haven't started doing anything yet, but you're going to watch somebody else stitch it out first. Well, watch me stitch it out in all sorts of problems here. Okay. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it very much. All right. I'm going to try to keep track of the comments, but feel free to comment. I love it. I love it because otherwise I'm super lonely and I'm talking to myself unless my cat comes in the room and then I'm talking to my cat. But hello, Creative Chaos. So did you say you bought this pattern? If you weren't in here earlier, it was talking about a flaw in the sewing of the pattern. Just so you know, you'll want to go back and watch the replay. Okay? But yeah, I'm finding out. I'm finding a few things wrong with this. But you know, when you digitize something this huge, there are going to be flaws. But my expectations are high. You know. I mean, this is a multi-million company, you know. All right. Next color I'm doing is this purple here. It's gonna do the bottom of the wings. This part of the quilt block is the most tedious to me. I prefer doing the piecing part because all this is just, you know, so change the color, so change the color, so change the color. Oops. And that's all. But you know, Creative Chaos, you can actually do last month's block and then now watch me stitch out this one and then do this block. You know, don't wait a year before you start it. It really is a fantastic, fantastic quilt. And if you go on their website, there are probably hundreds of examples of people who have sewn this quilt out in their own color scheme, and you can get so many ideas from that. So I highly recommend that you go on to the Sweet Pea site and you just have to click on that pattern and scroll all the way to the bottom and keep scrolling, and you'll find all of the really, all of the examples of everything people have already sewn. So yeah, definitely start. Okay, this right here. This is what the other block turned out to be. Let me back up the camera just a little bit here. Okay, so this is 4 blocks sewn together. Block number 1. And I talked earlier in the video about how I'm taking how I'm doing the quilting at the end. But feel free to share this live with someone you know that enjoys watching watching machine quilting. Share and follow. And if you haven't already turned on notifications, turn on notifications, because I am very random about when I do this, and I should be more deliberate about what time I do this and what day. So I'm not real excited about this color being here because I feel like it's too similar, but I'm stuck with it. I have decided. I'm stuck with it. I'm just gonna go on. I made a choice. Now I'm gonna stick with it. That's, I think, the hardest part about doing this is making the choice of fabric and thread and backing and all of those things that go into making a quilt. You know, I haven't written the company. That's a really good idea. I should do that. I mean, what I ended up having to do was go in and redigitize it, but I will do that. Okay, thread. I'll definitely text them. I'll email them and see if they have a different file that they can send me that has corrections. The other block, when I was sewing in the last video I did, when I was doing block 1, it was not staying straight. Like the whole block shifted, and it would start embroidering someplace where it wasn't supposed to embroider, and that was user error. That had nothing to do with me, and it says clearly on their site in the pattern, if you choose to use a digitizer, then they can't guarantee that it's going to sew correctly. But I didn't do anything to it, so there's no reason why that shouldn't have sewn correctly. I hear a squeak, and I can't tell if that's coming from here or here. All right, this says it has 15 more minutes. But it actually has just a little bit longer than that. But I'm gonna stay live to show you how I do the quilting part. But welcome if you're just joining on working on an ethereal quilt by Sweet Pea and Sweet Pea Embroidery. they're actually an Australian company. If you watch, they have a lot of instructional videos, which are really neat. They're fun to watch, anyway. This is so, it's funny because this is, it's almost, mesmerizing, really. Okay, the thread broke, I think, at the end, but the machine didn't catch it. It's fine. Because it's very, very, very close to the end of that stitching. So now I'm gonna sew, it looks like I'm gonna sew yellow. No, green. Gonna be right here at this color. So I'm in northern Indiana and it is absolutely gorgeous today. It is a typical spring day. If you're watching this later in the winter time when, you know, you want to do a cozy quilt. It is 65 degrees. Okay. Yeah, it's sewing that. Sew the body here, and it's gonna sew that and that. Yeah, I wonder if they could fix it. Don't worry about the delay. Don't worry about the delay. Punctuation. Autocorrect. I hate autocorrect. No, though, autocorrect can be a very, very nice thing. It's very helpful. Let me show you the palette that I came up with for this quilt. Now, it isn't. Now, I haven't used all of these fabrics in this quilt, but hang on a second. While that's sewing. This is the color palette. So I put together the colors that I thought I would like to have as far as a feeling for the quilt. I hadn't decided yet like where I was going to put each fabric. And I'm deciding as I go along, but at least kind of I had a palette to go by. So it's really useful to do this so that you have a direction. And I knew that I wanted this to have a lot of rainbow feel to it because I just love the rainbow palette all together. So that's why I ended up with this. Okay, so I wanted this to go from like yellow, orange, you know, green, blue, purple. That was intentional. Same thing with this, with the arch here. This part, I also did a rainbow order for that. Okay, next. What color are we doing now? Let's see. Darn gray. I can't tell. What's missing? I'll just have to look and see what's missing. What's missing? Tell me later. got everything on here. I don't believe I'm missing anything. This is on here is showing blue or blue gray, and I cannot see where it is. It's gray. I think it's the actual head itself, which I think it is, and I took this green out too soon because I think it's that green. And again, it's so much, it's so, saved me so much time if I went in and changed the color palette to match what I'm doing with my threads, so that the numbers, that has like little swatches next to each number over here, would match. And right now it's in their color palette, which has got, you know, all this gray and white and blue and colors that I'm not using in there. Okay. All right. So yeah, that's doing the little head. There we go. Now we're going on to the next butterfly, and that's this one here is going to be a little bit of the green here. So what I did was I left it in there so that I could do the same color and not have to change my thread. I would change out my thread as much as, you know, as much as it says. Let's change it too many. Too much, too much, too much. It does stitch out really nicely. What I love are the little hearts here and how those stitched out, because they're like a satin stitch. So this right here is tatami, and then the heart itself is a satin stitch. So can you see that? And it's fun when it sews, because it goes, you know, it stitches, it stitches, it stitches, and then it goes whoop, and then stitch, 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 and then it goes back, stitch, you know. Actually, I think I'm going the wrong way with the stitching, but it pops over, it just goes jump, and then stitches, and then it goes back, and it jumps. And I am fascinated by that, because I want to know how they digitized it to do that. I like to do digitizing, but my digitizing is very simple. Very simple. All right, now I'm going to use this dark purple, and it's going to put some detail into the wing right here. And then I'm going to use that for the body here and the head here. So I'll do all three of those steps together, and then I'll go back and do this when I do this color on the outside. Again, trying to save myself some time changing thread. I'm doing solids. Okay, so I noticed you're doing solids. Do you think it could be done with a small print fabric instead? It would look better because of the pieces it was with a solid. Okay, so I'm using prints. Is that what you're asking? This right here is a solid because I want to be able to see the quilting. This is a print. These are prints. This is a batik. And I am not cutting out the fabric ahead of time. So, I'm going to, you know what? And doing your brother scan and cut, I wouldn't do that, because it's going to take you so much more time. So what I want to do is finish this block for you, and then I'll start a new one so you can see how I deal with the pieces. And I know that if you watched the other video, you would see how I did it. But honestly, yeah, it does take up a little bit more fabric, but I'm trading fabric for time. So this step is just doing this little bit right here, this little here, and then it's going to be the body. I think the angle of the camera is not good, and I'm sorry for that. I want to try to fix it, but we saw what happened when I tried to fix it. But I'll tell you what, you need to get yourself a good pair of scissors like this. These are the Janome brand. I do not like these as well as I like the shape of the Ginger brand. I have the Gingers, and I like those so much more. All right, now I'm going to do yellow. It's going to be the bright yellow. It's part of the other. I'll be doing this yellow here, right here. Do you see my chaos? I've got all of my threads that I'm using right here in a box next to my machine. And it looks like a jumbled mess, but it works for me. Now, if I were doing some of these, like doing them in a particular order, and I wanted to know what order I was doing them in, and it was the same order for each block, I would have them set up in a particular order, up, set up right. I've already been on almost an hour. This might be a 2-hour live. I don't mind a 2-hour live. But I do need to change the angle of the camera. It's making me upset that it doesn't look like you can't see very well. And I am going to fix that so you can see better what color I'm sewing. I think that's better. I think that's better. Okay, what do you think? Is that better? So now the yellow, I'm gonna sew this blue right here. So the blue on the edge of the wing here, and I'm gonna do this. It'll do the body here and the detail in the wing, and then the next step we'll do this. Oh, whoops! I gotta change my color. No, we're not sewing that in yellow. Okay. Sewing blue. It is not this blue. Well, maybe it is this blue. I think I stole a blue for a different, I think it's on the other side of the room, unless it's this one. Well, it might be. Hey, stop chewing on that. I'm talking to my cat. He likes to chew on cords that are covered in fabric, and he's over here gnawing at the cord. Okay. Okay. I do not think that is the right blue. I need to locate the correct blue because it is not in my box of chaos, and I think I accidentally put it away on my wall. Yes, I did. Okay. It's this color, which is different than this color. I know it doesn't look that way, but it is. Okay. I just happen to have 4 cats, and the cat that is being a menace in my room right now is the youngest, and he happens to think he's human. He thinks he's human. But so he yells at me when it's time for dinner. He doesn't meow nicely. He yells. He yells. He thinks he owns the place. Okay. Now I'm going to leave this color, and I'm going to do now the outside of the wing. Now it looks kind of messy there, but I don't know why. Oh, you're welcome. That's how we decided, looking at these examples, that helped us decide, my husband and I, how we wanted it to look. Like, there are some that they're just, their whole quilt is just 2 colors, like black and white, or, 3 colors. There are even more. If you go into if you were going to purchase each block individually, if you go into that block and scroll down, there are even more. So there's hundreds of them. Okay. So this step right here on the machine would be sewing the quilting around the butterflies, but I'm going to skip that. And I'm going to, because there's quilting here and here, and around the edges. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do next. Let me zoom this out a little bit, okay? I'm going to take a piece of my backing. I've pre-cut these. I have pre-cut these. These are 10 by 10. And I want them to be big enough so that they are coming out on the edge so I can actually see that they are actually covering the entire back of this block. Okay? So I'm going to take my hoop out of here. And this is where you could use adhesive spray, so let me do that. It is basting adhesive. All right, I'm not going to spray this over here by my machine, but I'm going to spray this area. It doesn't need very much. And this is the backing of the quilt, okay? And I'm just going to lay this there. This is the back of the hoop. And I'm going to turn this over. Now, at this point, you would change your thread to be the same color in the bobbin that you want to show on the back of the quilt with your quilting. I chose to do white. This is what it looks like. So, turn this over. I'm holding it with my hand, just to make sure, okay? I pop this back in here, and you can see where it's showing around. I just make sure that you can see it showing all the way around. I don't care if it's completely straight or not, because of the nature of the pattern on the back and it being not a directional pattern. This is not a good technique if you have a directional pattern. Like if you were real particular about whether or not you wanted the stripes to line up, or, you know, some other kind of pattern on the back that you wanted to line up, it's not going to work well with this technique. Okay? So now what I'm going to do is quilt all the places that I skipped. So I'm going to backtrack. Actually, I'm going to sew this step here first. Oh, and I need to change my thread to white. You know what? Thank you. My colors, thank you. The thread that I'm using is a Robinson Anton, but you can use any embroidery thread you like. Just so you know, the Robinson Anton is a rayon thread, and it will, it does break easier. But if you use something that is polyester driven, then, and you can find some that actually do have sheen. I just like the way that the sheen shows. And I did map out my colors, but I used the iPad and I used Procreate, and that helped, but it didn't do everything entirely for me. It helped a lot, but it didn't do it 100%. Gave me an idea of what I was doing. Okay, I have to grab a new spool of white. Believe it or not, I don't see any white. Wait a minute, I found one. It was on my other machine. Okay. So I'm just using regular embroidery thread for the quilting portion as well. So, but yeah, we looked over the patterns that we saw examples of what other people had already put together, and I got a feeling for what, like I picked a couple that I liked the look of it, and then I just went from there. And but I found using Procreate, you know, or some sort of drawing program where you could put this in there was so much easier than trying to figure it out. But you know what's nice about this quilt is it doesn't matter really, because they call it the ethereal quilt because it's gonna look disjointed. But people have made it look very, very good. So, but thank you for the compliment on my colors. But yeah, so first, I mean, what I did was I had to choose a color palette, and that's what I did. I went through fabric and chose a color palette. And then I have added to that as I've gone along. Oh, I heard you break. And I know why you broke. Okay. I didn't put a net over this cone. Look. Use a net. It helps so much. Use a net. All right. I gotta find a net. Okay. This. Use one of these. When you cover this, do it from the bottom up like this so that your thread is coming out. But I have determined that I have to make sure that the netting is going over the bottom part so that when the thread gets down here, it doesn't get caught on there. But it helps it come off that spool a lot easier. Okay. When I sew, I usually have a lot of loud music going on, and it's very quiet in here right now. But YouTube doesn't like it. YouTube does not like it. Okay. So these are it's a star pattern, which I thought was really interesting to put with the butterflies, but yeah, I'm using prints. There are a couple of solid pieces, but for the most part, they're prints. Even the white has got a little print to it. So just to kind of show you in a bigger piece, let's see. So this pink, let me show you a little bit, you know, in bigger pieces, what these look like. Okay. This right here, batik. And the pink, it's got this little flowery look to it. And then I've got this orange, which I think I'm gonna change this orange to a different one. But it'll be so close you won't be able to tell unless you're looking for it. But it'll be the same tone. Same thing with the yellow. I might decide to do the yellow. But isn't that sweet with the little flowers? And then this is this color here. It's kind of a, it's a batik. It's a pretend batik because it has a wrong side and a right side. Or is it a batik? Hang on a minute. It is a batik. Sorry, I lied. You can tell also by the way it feels. All right. I spoke too soon. Oh, wait. No, seriously. I feel like there's a right side and a wrong side for this. Yeah. See that? You don't have that with a batik. Okay, so it's a pretend batik. So my machine is telling me that my bobbin needs to be wound. So I'll cut that. So the reason that I do this as well, you know, this is a technique that you can do even in lap quilting. Like in the summer, if you didn't want an entire quilt on your lap and you just wanted to quilt, you can quilt one block at a time. Also works. But you just have to know that when you are done, you're going to have all of these seams that you have to cover. I'll cover these with binding. I do have a video earlier on in my playlist, probably my live playlist, where I'm covering these on a different quilt that I did. And I make my own binding. I make sure that these are trimmed down to 1/4 inch. I just didn't trim these down when I put it together. This was not fun to put together as far as sewing it together, because I had to be real particular about this lining up and this all lining up because it's the center of the quilt. And you cover that with binding when you're done. I did 2 different quilts like that already, and they hold up really well. You use clear thread, which can be insanely frustrating, but it's worth it. All right, so this doesn't have very much longer left to it. My cats are already coming in the room trying to tell me it's dinner time. It is not dinner time. They think it's dinner time. All right. Yeah, Procreate. I don't know if it has free yeah, it might have a free version, but yeah, it works really well. The pencil. Oh my gosh. It is not time to eat yet. It is not time. You're gonna have to wait. You're gonna wait and watch me quilt. You're gonna wait. All right. Now I'm going to go back. What I forgot to do first was repeat the square stitch. So I'm going to do that now. That holds this onto the backing. And what this does is okay, this feels funny to me, so I feel like it folded. Let's see how bad it folded. Because when I took it out, oh, what a mess. When I took it out and I fixed it, look what happened. Now, how do I fix that? It's really easy. I'm just going to cut all of it away and put a new piece over it. Instead of trying to rescue this, I'm just going to cut it away. I know it's sad. I know. Don't cry. Don't cry. This is what happens when I'm on live. It always happens. Something semi-catastrophic happens, and it costs me a lot of time when I'm on live for some reason. You know, I mean, you would think I would be paying attention. Now look, usually I don't take my hoop out after I have done my that I put it down. But see, what happened was I forgot to do that stitch going around the edge first. I needed to do that stitch to hold this in place so it didn't fold over like this. So don't worry. No worries. No worries. Okay. And I am going to quilt that again. Cat. Okay, I know you're screaming. Don't cry. Don't cry. I just don't want to I did not want to try to take this out. It's not. It's just, it would take way too much time rather than just cutting it out. And that's another reason why I like rub my hands over it, because I can feel that it didn't feel right. And that's why I took it out. And I'm so glad I caught it now, because if I had done the entire block like this, I would not have been able to rescue it. Not very easily. I mean, it's bad enough that I have to go and quilt over what's already quilted, because that is going to be rough on the thread. So anyway, so the idea is to go through and to quilt everything after you do the piecing and the embroidery. Okay. And once you do that, then your block is done. You set it aside. And then you put it together at the end when all the other quilt blocks are done in the order that they tell you to do them. You know, I'm glad I'm redoing this, because these stars did not turn out well. They did not look good. Yeah. All right. right, taking time in the live. And if you're watching this later, after the live, and you're watching a redo, put down in the comments, what would you have done? Would you have cut it away? Would you have started completely over? Because what's going to happen while I'm sewing this is it's going to have more thread breakage because it's sewing over some stitches that it already did. And that's what happens. So we'll see. We'll see how bad that is. We'll see how bad, how terrible that is as far as an experience and time and how long it takes. Yeah. Okay. All right, I think that's where I'm going to stop, I think. I just want to get most of the thickness out. There's some more. I want to get this out. It's like giving it a haircut. Like giving it a haircut. Yeah, do buy it. Yeah, do buy that. Do buy that Procreate. It's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. I love it. Okay. I'm still learning how to use it. That Procreate. I'm still using it. I'm still learning how to use it. Okay. New piece on the back. Making sure that it's not folded over like it is right here. Get unfolded. And I'm gonna slide this in. And I'm gonna position and make sure that it is straight. Now I'm gonna do that straight stitch going around just to make sure. Oops. Come back. Okay. So what's nice about doing this stitch is that when you're putting your blocks together, you're going to sew over this stitch because you're going to be sewing on the back. So you're going to be, you know, this will be folded over, right? Like this. And you're going to sew along the line right here that's holding this that I'm about to sew. And that's also going to hold this on here so it doesn't fold over again. Oh, this is broken. Just have to rethread. Oh, stop. Okay, look. We went a step too far. Okay. This is normal. This is normal. This is what normal does. In my room, this is normal. Okay, now we're going to be going where we're supposed to be going. Oh, also, I want you to notice that I didn't trim. That's important, that you don't trim your pieces in the seam. You want to leave that in the seam. Alright, so as I trim this piece, I don't trim the part that's in the seam, which is another reason why I don't pre-cut these. Because if this gets off, like just a little bit skewed off, then I'm possibly going to lose some of this that I want to leave in the seam allowance. I'm trying to leave a 1/2 inch of a seam, and this is more than 1/2 inch, okay? But I'll cut it down when I'm done. I'll cut it down and square it up at 1/2 inch. Okay, now I'm going to move ahead to where the first bit of quilting is. And in my digitizer, what I would like to do is put it so that the quilting is all at the end, but it's just as easy to scroll through here and find the quilting. So, all right. The other thing that I sacrifice when I do this by using this method, at least with this particular pattern, the quilting itself, it covers some of the satin stitch and some of the embroidery, but that does not bother me. That doesn't bother me at all. I'm happy to do that. So I could have pinned it down, yes. I could have pinned it down. But like I said, on a good day, on a typical day, I do this stitch around first before I do any other stitching. So that's why. Thank you, Creative Chaos. I appreciate that. But yeah, normally that's what I'm doing. And then I don't have to worry about pinning it. The only time I have to worry about moving that, or this moving around, is when I first put it in there. I'll adjust it to make sure it's straight and that I can see it all the way around. And if I can see it all the way around, and I know there's no wrinkles in there, I just sew that tack down stitch, and I'm good. All right, next I'm gonna fast forward it again to another quilting area. Now, I wouldn't have to do this if I knew like what number I was looking at. Let's see. Like I could fast forward it. Oh wait, there's one. Okay, it's gonna quilt over this pink. But another reason I don't use pins is because I possibly could catch that with my embroidery machine, and it's real risky, I guess, to use pins, and it's hard to. There's a couple reasons. One, when you're using pins, you're pulling on the actual stabilizer, and you don't want to do that. So pinning is awkward unless you're supporting this really well. I have used pins, but it's better to not use pins, and also you do risk the possibility of embroidering over it, and you don't want to do that. Okay, I do believe that this is the next one. Yeah, okay. So I'm not worried about this puckering right here. I'll be able to sew over that. Oh my goodness, you're in Europe until September? All right. So you're going to live vicariously through my mistakes and my woes. But I'm going to try to catch up. I've got, after this, I have 6 more of these to do. And so, by the rate I've been doing it, might be September before I get done with all of this. By the rate I'm going at the moment. Here, trim some of these. But yeah, right now you could start working on Procreate. You could even take one of the pictures that, yeah, tape. I've seen, yes, tape you could use as well. I forgot what I was going to say. I was in the middle of starting to say something and I saw your comment. Now I'm I forgot. What was I going to say? Oh, I know. With Procreate, while you're in Europe, what you could do is you can take one of the pictures that you like, one of those quilts, right? Bring it into Procreate and play around with those colors that they have in that palette. Like, so whatever you like for that palette. Whichever palette you like. So what I did was and it's pretty dang tedious. I brought the block in to Procreate and I did 3 tracing. I did 3 layers. I did 1 layer was the fabric and then 1 layer was the embroidery and the other layer was the quilting. So I started with this and traced it. Time consuming. Here's a better one. So that comes with your pattern. I should be an expert by this time. I might be an expert. I don't know. By this time in September, I might be abandoning ship on this, you know. I might have moved on to something else. So, not really. I never leave a quilt behind. I really don't. I have made so many quilts. This is probably my 3rd bed quilt with the machine embroidery, so I don't know the longevity yet of the embroidery on a machine embroidered quilt, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. All right. There we go. All right, now that's the moment of truth. We're gonna go back and do these stars, and I'm telling you what, it is going to be a bear because it's going to sew over, and it's gonna look really pretty on top. You're gonna really be able to see that, but anyway, it'll probably break a lot because it's not gonna like sewing through, and I'm gonna slow this down because it's not gonna like sewing through all those layers, and it's gonna look ultra thick. Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, did you get what I said about Procreate? I don't have my iPad up here, so I can't show it to you. Let me grab my iPad and watch my machine for me, okay? I'm gonna grab my iPad. Okay, how's it doing? So let me go into my Procreate for you and show you. Let's see. All right, so let me show you what I did. Let me go to the original block, this one, right here. So I have the fabric layer, and this is the thread layer. So there's the fabric layer, and this is the original picture. So when I did this layer with the thread, when I traced it, you have to make sure that there aren't any open lines, because if there are open lines, when you fill that color, it'll fill it'll fill the whole place, the whole sheet. Okay, so let me do orange. So this is the layer I want to do. Oh, okay. I locked it. Let me go to a different one. All right. So this is the third block right here that I'm working on right now. And that's what it looks like. This is part of the third block. The third block is 2 different styles of flowers on either side. So this is what I'm looking at, and this is their original. Wait, is this mine or theirs? I don't know. Okay, so that's theirs. Okay, so here's my pieces, and then this is layer 2, which is the embroidery. And then layer 4 is the quilting. Okay, sorry. So this is what it looks like right here. And then the other cool thing that I did with Procreate, you know, it took a lot of back and forth, but that's what it's going to look like when I have all 8 of these blocks done, because they're mirrored. There's 4 one color, or one direction is for the other, and it makes this circle going around, right? So the next piece fits in here, and it's going to have this circle here. So, like, let's see, did I have it in here? Okay, like this. Okay, so here you can see where that's gonna fit. It's like that. And this is just colors that I'm playing with. I haven't decided if those are the colors I'm going to use yet, but that's how it works. That's what I did. So yeah, it's something you can learn. I use their the help button a lot with Procreate, because I don't know it very well myself. So whenever I wanted to try something, I'll look it up if I don't know how to do it. So it's funny having a conversation like this. You understand what it means about connecting the lines. Yeah. So that way I know that when I'm choosing my fabric, so like as I go into the rest of the circle, right, I know that this color, I'm going to need to use that color in the other block, because it's part of the ring that goes around. Because this ring will be finished, because this will be end to end. This ring and this ring will be end to end. Now, when Now, Sweet Pea is doing another mystery quilt that they started in January. And I can't imagine doing this without knowing what's coming next. So, I just really can't. I can't imagine it. All right, well, sewing these second time didn't do so bad. All right. Now, the one thing that I decided to do with this, and I did mention it at the beginning, was I took this into my straight sewing machine because I felt like there wasn't enough quilting in this area. So I took it into my straight sewing machine and did a triple stitch right here and right here. So I just went along the inside of this part. Sorry, let me get my stylus because it's so much easier not to put my fat fingers there. Okay, so you see this stitching right here? I just stitched right along the side of that. Now, I suppose you could, you know, do some more here, however comfortable you feel. Like maybe you want to put some stars here. I don't know. But this is where I decided to stop. But that's a triple stitch that I set up in my machine. So I will do that next once I'm done with this. Okay, now this is done. Okay, now I can take it out. I do want to make sure it's done. I'm going to turn it over and make sure I did all of the quilting. Except for, you see how there's no quilting in this area here? It's just empty, right? So putting that extra couple of lines there helped fill that in. And it's okay to have a little bit of open area. It gives it some poof. Now I'm using very, very thin batting. Very thin batting. Because I understand from experience that if the batting is too thick, then the quilt itself is just like like a cardboard, a piece of cardboard. So it does soften in time, but anyway, so let's take this out of the block. Just want to make sure I've got everything in here that I want. Okay. Now I'm going to hoop another one and I'm going to start the next block so you can see the process of how it goes as far as beginning one and then whether or not, like, I mean, it's up to you if you want to pre-cut the pieces, but I just, like I said, I decided not to because in the interest of time, I decided I didn't want to do that. Okay, so moving you over here. All right. So I'm using Soft and Stay, which is very, very thin. Just remember, it does have a stretch, like it stretches one way more than the other. So that's not necessarily important for this particular pattern, but, and then I'm, this is a very, very strong magnetic hoop. Okay, so I try not to pinch my hands or pinch my fingers, okay? And now I have a little bit of a wrinkle in here. That's okay. I'm just gonna pull these. And you want this to be extremely taut. Extremely taut. And because as you're sewing this and it is getting so much manipulation, it gets looser and looser. And you want to make sure that this is as taut as possible when you begin. Like a drum. Okay? Like a drum. The next thing I'm going to do is grab my pieces, my other pieces. Let's see. I think I have some pre-cut. All right, so I'm going to show you what I do with that. And then this is the step where you put the batting. Now I don't think I have any other pieces of batting cut, so I'm just gonna cut a hunk off of here. Cutting them 10 inches by 10 inches. And it doesn't matter if it's straight or not. Okay, so let me show you how this goes. Hopefully this goes well. And we don't have mistakes like I did before. That's okay though. It's okay. This is how we learn. This is how we learn. All right. This is how we learn. And I'm excited. I now have 2 blocks done. All right. So putting in the machine. And I'm going to make sure it's at step 1. And I'm going to sew step 1 twice. The first time I'm sewing it is to make sure I have placement, that I want to make sure I have this covering all the way inside. So I want to have some of this hanging, which is fine. And this is my preferred trimming utensil. It is a Ginger's, and these are they're curved embroidery scissors. Okay, so when I trim, I've got the point is up. Now I do sometimes manage to, trim the back, but anyway, so backing up, putting down the batting. Okay, now this is all covered in the instructions. And they even tell you in the instructions what amount of fabric you'll need, as far as like how much fabric goes. And I know this is mirrored, okay, but it's backwards, but I couldn't figure out how to mirror anyway. So here's what it's going to look like. So it's saying step 1, batting on top of the hoop. Remove the hoop from your machine, trim the batting, stitch the placement line for the background fabric. And I'll show you how I treat this, because I decided to do something a little bit different than they are doing. So, all right. I am going to use my stylus so I don't involve my fingers, just to make sure that this stays smooth. And it's okay if this isn't centered. I just want to make sure it's not got any wrinkles in it. I'll pull it taut. I just don't want it to have any wrinkles. Okay? So this is where I'm going to trim. Why are you doing that? I've got to check my bobbin. My bobbin is not happy. Because it's doing, when it does that over and over and over thing, it's not a good thing. So let me check my bobbin, and just gonna re-thread the bobbin. Okay. I appreciate you sticking around as long as you have. How did I decide on how many yards fabric? Big thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad you're excited. This is kind of a guessing game on how many yards of fabric to buy. I wanted to buy more than I thought I would need. I knew that this was going to be scrappy, so I'm going to change the orange. So I'm not going to use this orange. I'm going to change it to an orange that is the same intensity and the same color, but a different pattern, and you won't be able to tell when you're going in and looking at the quilt. It'll still just like have this impression, right? Okay, now the instructions say, oh, my iPad is tired. Oh no, something got real tired. That came out of nowhere. Out of nowhere. Okay, stay. That was great. Okay, look, stay. So, the instructions say to leave a millimeter or two and not to cut all the way up to the stitching. And that is so you don't actually cut the stitching away, right? Even though, you know, it doesn't matter if you cut some of the stitching away. It just, because you're about to piece all over the top of this. So, and yes, it makes sense to take this hoop out of here. And I'm going to do that all the way out. Okay. My hoop is it made by Dime? I don't know. Let me look and see if I can find, I have no idea. All I know is it's an aftermarket. And it's made for, like, they make it for just about any machine. So, let me see if I can find the name of it really quickly while this is sewing the next step. So, you see there was some waste here, okay? Because I cut off 1 inch of this. So the batting that I bought, I know I'm going to need to buy more before I'm done with this, because the piece of batting I bought is for a queen size quilt, right? But because I'm cutting away some, it's going to lose some of the batting. Okay, so now this is going to sew the placement for the next color, which is the background for the flowers. So, thank you for the compliment. I'm so glad you've enjoyed this. I mean, this is why I go on live. I want you to see how I'm doing this, because look, I make mistakes just like everybody. You know, this isn't always an easy process. Okay, so this does have a print to it, and it's really hard to tell what the right side and the wrong side is, so I always have to fold it over to see. This does have a paisley kind of print to it, and I don't know if you can see that. Paisley. So at this step, I'm going to cover this whole thing, right? I decided that instead of putting this piece and then cutting it away here, I just leave this entire piece on here and all the way around, and that way I know for sure that I have the seam allowance going all the way around, and that when I sew it together, I know that there is going to be some cotton seam allowance. Like I showed you before, this right here, you have to, this is part of the seam allowance, right? But here's the white that I left underneath it. So let's say I forgot and I trimmed a little bit of this. Let's say, like, I don't know, like a triangle. Like it didn't come together right here. I know I have the white underneath it. So any more of these that I ever make going forward, I'm going to do that. I will put a layer of cotton underneath and then do the rest of them on top. Okay? So this is just going to sew this down. And I'm not going to have to trim this piece. Okay. So normally I would trim this piece and I would stop here and just go straight out with my scissors. I would, let's see, where's the end? I would stop here, you know, trim, 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 stop here, and go straight out with your scissors. That's the hardest part, is remembering not to cut that seam allowance away. And I don't know, I cannot tell you how many blocks I threw away with the first quilt that I did because I did not leave that seam allowance. So, Adobe Illustrator, I have not used Adobe Illustrator. I do know that it is a very, very good program. So, I mean, I don't think you can go wrong with either one. I really don't. I mean, get both and see which one you like better, because, you know, there might be some intuitiveness and some of the processes you like better that Adobe has over Procreate. Okay, so. All right, I'm gonna trim this because I don't want that to get caught underneath my hoop. You know, I don't want anything caught underneath my hoop. So trim that away. I'm gonna trim this away. Okay, so I think that I'm gonna do another couple of steps. Let's see. Well, the next part would be sewing the vine, and that's gonna take a minute. Let me see if I fast forward this and do some other piecing before I go back to do this. Because I want to show you how I'm doing the piecing on this. Let me go on one more. Let me see. No, I have to go back. Okay, I'm going to sew in this piece right here. That's going to be the yellow piece, the one that I had to fix the steps for. So I jumped ahead a bit, and that's okay. For point of demonstration, is fine. All right. So I'm gonna take a scrap piece of the yellow, and I am not kidding. This is my piece, right? And I'm just gonna lay it down so that I have seam allowance over here, right? And that it covers that whole spot. And since this is a batik, it doesn't have a right or wrong side, right? Okay. Now, see how you do not line it up here. Okay? Pull that over. And now you have that covering this in the seam allowance, right? But there's here, I have to make sure I cover that, right? So let me turn it. And now I've got this in the seam allowance. It has to be here. I'm gonna pull that over. It's okay. I don't mind losing some of it, right? And this is the height of laziness, okay? This is the most lazy. See, this is where it's coming down, right there, okay? This is the height of laziness. It's not really laziness, it's just I'm saving time, but I'm not necessarily saving fabric, okay? So now I'm going to take my scissors, right? Do not cut off here. Don't cut this off right here, okay? Yeah, thank you. I'm gonna say I am gonna quit here in a minute. All right, so I'm gonna trim this, right, and then I'm gonna trim like this. I am gonna trim a little bit of this off. I don't need all of that. I just want to make sure that it's more than a half an inch, so that when I go to square it up, I have a little bit of play. All right, and I'm gonna just go. I'm gonna trim. This is kind of backwards because I'm on camera. But see, I trimmed to the corner there. I'm going to leave that. And I'm going to trim the rest of that piece off. See? So much quicker. So much quicker. Okay? So, yes, this is a scraggly mess. But this whole quilt is scraps. This whole quilt is scraps. Okay? So, thank you. I will say goodnight. It is time for my kitties to eat their dinner. But I appreciate you being here, and thank you for your interaction and how entertaining you have been. I really appreciate it. So, have a really, really good night. Really good night. Okay? Yeah. Wow, I don't know about like looking at Tilda for the fabric. Well, I'll tell you what, since Joann's is gone, I'm shedding lots of tears because now there is a really, really good quality quilt shop nearby. Um, and I do have a really great fabric stash, but I do have a little bit of sadness because I don't have that option to go to Joann's anymore. So anyway, I am so happy that you hung out with me today, and I appreciate your time. Here's me. Thank you for your time. Thank you for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate it, and I'm glad, and I really hope you learned something. Okay? Hope you learned something valuable. All right. Take care, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.